Good morning and welcome to the new edition of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. People have been very attentive, very involved in the China India border dispute. Indians and Chinese would be, but the whole world attention is riveted on that. And people have been talking of the salami cutting by China, slow and steady. People have been talking about Chinese incursions in various parts of the Indian border, in Vietnam, in Philippines, in South Sea, all over. And the question has invariably been, what is going to happen now? Every time. Given the situation that Chinese have agreed 4 times to withdraw and not withdrawn. Ultimately today morning came the news that the latest special representatives meeting between NSA of India Ajit Doval and Foreign Minister of China, the Chinese have started packing up and leaving about half a kilometer in route that they had made, and they're going back to the line of actual control. Now, is it to be taken as a success for the Indian diplomacy, or is it a part of the Chinese trick? One step backward, two steps forward. Chinese have always talked of the peaceful coexistence, and yet at the same time, they have taken steps to protect and enhance their imperial capability. As a matter of fact, as I said the other day, and I wrote that President Xi suffers from the old mentality of Chinese imperialism. He thinks he is in the generation of Kublai Khan and the Ming dynasty and should have the worldwide state. And he's using the modern technology, the modern infrastructure, building the new Silk Road to overpower the world. But not only militarily, even economically. It was responsible for coronavirus and then started winning the hearts of the people by being the first country to start sending medicines to the afflicted people, forgetting that its own people were dying. But the people don't think they were dying. They are not aware. Now the question is, what are the options available for India and China? As I said in my note today morning, China's biggest problem is Minzai. Minzai is a Chinese word meaning face. We people who belong to Asia are aware that for us it's not winning that is important. It is the show of winning that's important. Honor, prestige. The Pakistanis would say that the Shamla should not falter. Shamla is the turban. There's a piece of starched cloth strutting up from the turban, and that must be erect. So it's saving face that's much more important to China. They're fully aware that this border, whether it's Galwan Valley, whether it's Aksai Chin, whether it's Ladakh, whether it's Nifa, whether it is Arunachal Pradesh, are important strategically. But much more important is to show that China rules the roost. So for them, the option is to show that they have won. They would not mind, hesitate in accepting line of actual control being the official border, provided they can show to the people outside China and especially to people inside China, the Chinese people, who are ready to revolt against President Xi. That President Xi is successful, and even India has been defeated. At least the show of defeat must be there. If India was to appear before them in ashes and sackcloth and say, well, mighty Chinese emperor, we are ready to follow you. And for example, just India needs to say they'll accept the one road, this new Silk Road, BRI. Chinese would immediately say, well, we are magnanimous, we'll withdraw and observe line of actual control at the border. Because that will be a big win for them. By accepting the BRI, you are accepting their sovereignty in Jammu and Kashmir and the worldwide overwhelming trading power. But what has India done? Very sensibly, what they have done is they have shored up their defenses that they cannot be taken unawares. 3 divisions of the army shifted, Air Force shifted, and in Air Force, let me tell you, India is much better placed than China is. China has excellent technological capability. They have some excellent arms which India doesn't have, but some. How far they will be useful in the actual warfare is still to be seen. Last year, when they showed these arms at their national day, people were aghast. The artillery which fires, and the people are killed, but the buildings are not destroyed. So, infrastructure is remains. It's not only scorched earth, it is winning, killing people, and taking over. But leave that aside. The Indian army may be less in number, but is more committed. I don't say Chinese are not committed. We always make a mistake of considering the other party to be weak, to be uncommitted. But their commitment, the value number of commitment is much more. And secondly, Chinese do not have that national spirit. They are more motivated by a communist philosophy. And majority of the PLA may not be committed communists. They have joined the army because they are paid. It's a mercenary army, mostly. Indian is a committed army, it's a national army. Then internationally the sport is with India. Even in 1971 war, we won against Bangladesh primarily because of the help given by Israel, though we had no diplomatic relations with Israel at that time. But the help was there. The information given by Mossad, the technology supplied, the strategy formulation, the help was tremendous. And this time it will be much more. France has already committed to help India. USA is committed to help India, and then USA sent its army to South China. They are already having war games. So it won't be difficult for them to, and that's why China is objecting. Another thing which has happened, possibly you are not aware, that I'm not talking of the Hong Kong, I'm talking of Taiwan. Taiwan has invited the Dalai Lama. And if Dalai Lama visits Taiwan, which he has accepted the invite, it's going to be a major loss of face for China. How would China react? Is yet to be seen. But one thing is definite, that China is not going to take it lying down. Now coming back to the original, what are the options for India? India has to adopt a three-pronged strategy. First, there, as I mentioned earlier in my comments over here and my article, and the day I mentioned it in the morning, after 3 hours, the government of India took action in banning 60 odd apps of Chinese, which was an excellent idea. The second step by the government in cancelling all the contracts given to the Chinese companies in infrastructure and in other fields in defense was again welcome. So that is sending a signal that we can, or India can definitely give a lethal blow as far as the economy is concerned. Do not forget, India is a major market for China. And if India drops a sharp iron curtain, says absolutely zero trade, Chinese economy may not be destroyed, but it will have a serious injury, almost a fatal injury. So that's the one prong. As I said, it has to be a trishul. The second prong of the trishul would be armed strength, show of armed strength. Use or no use would depend on the circumstances. And for that, the best thing is for the commanders on the field. The third prong is diplomacy. And it is very sensible on the part of India that after the military commanders' talks failed, they did not let go of the diplomacy. They asked the foreign minister and the NSA to talk to the Chinese, and then the talks are successful, apparently. As I said earlier, it can be a sign of Chinese duplicity, which is very common. So the strategy has to, and options for India are very limited. India has started all the three options, which is good. Even shoring up Andamans to show that Chinese are not the masters of the Indian Ocean is a welcome sign. Now comes another part of the strategy in diplomacy, that is shoring up and signing agreements, even if need is joint defense agreements with Quad countries. Let me be very clear. India would never be able to fight single-handed with China. And even the commitments by France or USA, while they're welcome, should be taken with a pinch of salt. Because the direct impact of the China-India war would be on Korea, Philippines, Japan, Australia. So what we should do is sign joint defense agreement, and why not have a regional defense treaty between the five nations and invite Israel also along with that, and if possible even South Africa. So this committee of six nations can be a strong bloc against China, and that can be helpful. Third is, let's not bother about the salami cutting by the China. Coming 1 kilometer inside is a thing which is not acceptable. But it's nothing to send us in jitters, nothing to make us feel perturbed. Yes, take corrective action. And then, the media should be very careful. Our media Indian media, is very emotional, and it is either full of jingoistic war cries, which doesn't help. You have to retain your cool in such trying circumstances. As a matter of fact, the ideal would be, Lord Krishna's strategy. Flute and Sudarshan Chakra. Flute to sing the paeans of friendship, compromise, which is diplomacy, and Sudarshan Chakra to kill, which is the second prong, the military, the Kali. India has not used Sudarshan Chakra as yet. As a matter of fact, India missed there. What should have been done was that India should have had a preemptive attack on the other side where the Chinese have not come, that is on the Arunachal side, gone 10 kilometers down the line of actual control. Then you can weigh and negotiate, okay, we go back 10 kilometers, you go back 1 kilometer. And that would not have involved the wastage of the human life. Coming to the other part, which people say about military, I made a comment yesterday on Facebook in response to a question by Dr. Chava that Air Force wise we are much stronger. Naval forces we are not as strong as they are. Our artillery is not as good as theirs is, but tanks only are better. Our infantry is much better. Our soldiers are much better. You know, Gurtej killed 12 people with his kirpan. That is a saga which is worth celebrating. This young soldier, not even 25, sees a commander being killed, takes out his kirpan, he's a Sikh, and kills 12 Chinese. And then he is himself killed, he's martyred, fine. But what he has done is sent the shivers of fear down the spine of the soldiers, and when those tales go to the other members of PLA, they will hesitate twice. They'll hesitate of coming and fighting because they know that such ferocity, such fierceness can be fatal. So the three-pronged strategy, which is the overall strategy with the various components, as I said, creation of the Quad and the security agreement, a joint security agreement. And then we are failing in one state. We could have taken many more companies which were leaving China. We have been successful only in a very small fraction. Majority of the companies went to Vietnam, Philippines, Malaysia. Hardly 2% came to India. That's it. Why? Because there are cumbersome processes. Still, we have not been able to remove the roadblocks. That has to be done. That has to be done pronto. Another part is the internal carping of the opposition. I thought that opposition is all out bad, but then the statement by Mayawati giving all support to Modi and even condemning Congress, though for different purposes, is welcome. But the tweets that are being released by the so-called youthful hero, Rahul, are an anathema and they are a danger to the national will to fight. They are a distraction. And not only distraction, they are negative, having a negative impact. And as a matter of fact, they show that this party is a party of quisling, fifth columnists, enemies of the country. So that has to stop. As a matter of fact, this is a time for them to show unstinted support rather than asking for the proofs and apologies. That sort of people should stop forthwith. So the options are many. What is required is will to do it. Luckily, I feel the government has the will to do it. But it's lacking one thing, a major thing, an overall strategy. It takes steps sometimes very hesitantly and sometimes. But the best thing that happened was the visit of Modi. That sent a clear signal to the Chinese. Just about 50 kilometers away, he's addressing the soldiers, he's gone everywhere. And that sends a message to China, look here, we mean business. You can have a bloody nose, so better desist. So this sort of attitude would be good. And a Trishul strategy, if adopted. And then one thing very clear, We must not let China lose its face. Let it lose its face. We must ensure it loses its face. Once it loses its face, it will be revengeful, I know it. But it will think not once, not twice, but 100 times before undertaking such an adventure again. And that is what the need of the time is. Make it feel that it is not the monarch of all its ways, that its will is not supreme, that the word India and the world at large are not bound by the imperial desire of China. Thank you.